quick. You're going to hear a little bit more, and with a little bit more I mean probably quite a bit more background noise today, as in actual like white noise, background noise compared to usual. And that is entirely just because it is hot as fuck outside, and that means that it's going to be hot as fuck inside. I somehow have managed to keep it reasonably, like, not uncomfortable. I don't want to say it's comfortable in here. Throughout the day, it's 24 degrees Celsius inside, it's 26 outside. I don't know how I managed to do that, because usually it ends up being hotter inside. The way I managed to do it is running the AC all day, and I'm not going to stop doing that just because I'm live streaming. So yeah, just kind of gonna have to deal with that, I'm afraid. Hopefully next week temperatures will be back down a little bit, and it won't have to be on. As summer progresses, this is gonna happen sometimes, and there's not much I can do about that. If you guys want to help me not die from like heat exhaustion in my home, global warming stuff, I don't know, that's just kind of what summer does, and my AC is just kind of loud. This is all there is to it. Anyway, long story short, we're going to be doing some more work on this guy's behavior. And I frankly don't remember where we left off. So, oh yeah, we have, okay, so we have the special attack left to do. Which is a very good question as to what we're going to do regarding that. And then we also have his taunting animation, and I actually have one more attack that I want to give him that I entirely forgot about. But I want to give him a projectile attack. A lot of the enemies in the game just kind of like swing at you. I need some more variation in my attacks. So what we're going to do is we're going to also copy over one of his normal like swinging moves. We're going to speed it up a little bit. And it's going to spawn a scythe-shaped, like a wedge-shaped almost, projectile that just like homes in on the player a little bit, and that should be pretty easy to do. So there's plenty left for us to do today. I think what we're going to do is we're going to make his special attack. And for that, we're going to need to replace these blockouts with some actual like blueprints here. So let's get started by doing that. We make blueprints. Are we going to put that in the character? I guess they fit with this character, right? So we can go blueprints, characters, not player, characters, enemies, characters, bosses, Reaper, and then really all there is to it for now will be a blueprint class, just a normal actor with a name BP, Reaper, boss, pillar, something quite easy and simple like that. Maybe once the sun's actually like disappeared behind a couple of more buildings, and like the my home is a little bit more in shadow, I will turn off the AC, because I'm also like listening through my own microphone to myself speak, because that's just and I'm hearing that it is quite loud. I don't know how well it's coming through on stream. I'm assuming that you guys are going to be able to hear it as well quite loudly. Again, not much I can do about that for the most part. Anyway, we start off with a static mesh, and that static mesh for now is just going to be... we have like a pillar already, don't we? Yeah, we've got this pillar, but that's not really what I'm looking for. So we probably at some point need to replace it with some proper art. For now, I guess what we can do is just take this one and see how big it is compared to the pillars that exist in this level. And we might need to for like balancing purposes. Okay, so that is ridiculously small. First and foremost, let's set our workspace to Reaper Boss, whatever. So yeah, I think we're going to need to make this one a little bit bigger, like 4 times the size or something like that, because that was a little too small. This is a little too big. So maybe 3 times. Let's go for 2.7. That might end up being... That's pretty good. I didn't want to go for 2.5 because that seemed like a way too convenient round number. And I still don't, so I'm going to go for 2.4. Just because that actually is pretty good. So that's going to then also have to like be rotated to be facing inward and stuff like that. But it's going to have a static mesh for the skull on it as well. So let's call this one skull. I, for now, don't really want to parent that to the other static mesh just because I'm going to do scaling stuff on that. Low poly skull. Is it just very tiny? It is just very tiny. Thanks for the follow. I can't see who... I don't even know how I'm supposed to pronounce that. But thanks for the follow nonetheless. I don't know why my skull mesh is so ridiculously tiny. Like legitimately, like why is it? Because I have to set this to like a scale 100 or something like that now. I guess it's not that big a deal to have to do that, but like something is a little off. And I do think this is actually a pretty good size. Next one's just going to be just right. Well, it kind of was. So that's the idea, right? We put these pillars with the skulls on it, and then that actually does mean that we need to program whatever we're going to program for these in Blueprint. Now that I'm making this in Blueprint, that's fine. That is fine. We'll deal with it. So let's put the other ones in as well. Again, very much placeholders. For the most part. At least the pillars. The skulls are pretty like final asset. But the pillars obviously are not. Because they're just white blocks. That's kind of all there is to them. So what he's going to do, for those of you who haven't been here for literally every stream we've done, which I can't blame you for that, what we're going to do is the boss is going to have references to all of these pillars. Whether that be as just normal actors or if it's... actually, it's not going to be able to have includes to them in C++. Maybe it'll be done through Blueprint. It's going to have... It's probably just going to cast to them, to be honest. It's going to have references to all these. And then it's going to pick one out of them randomly, and it's going to like possess the skull on it. So the skull is going to be following the player, looking at the player. It's like eyes are going to light up and stuff like that. It's going to wait like 4, 5, maybe 6 seconds, and then the Reaper will appear above that pillar and dash toward the player to do an attack, which is not that different from the usual attacks, but it hopefully will feel more special and more fancy. It'll probably also be a faster attack, I imagine. But we'll see. Okay, so these pillars that we had there can now go away. Also, how is the... I changed the chat on screen. I'm thinking about a couple of things. Number one, is it big enough? Like, is this reasonably, like, readable while watching? Because I'm assuming that it might be a little bit on the small side. Number two, is it annoying that the messages stay on screen? Because I can set it to, like, disappear after X amount of seconds fairly easily. And I'm thinking for, I don't even know why it's all the way over there. It could and should be all the way over here, to be honest with you. What I'm thinking is when I do, like, clips and stuff like that, or, like for the Godot video where I'm recording the entire thing and then editing down into a video, which, that second half hour stream we did last weekend, I've got that edited down now to 22 minutes, which is an insane reduction in content. And I'm gonna have to edit it even more, because that's only the first stream. For that, it will probably be good to be able to see them on screen when I respond to them, which might not be within that, like, 30-second window before they disappear. So that might be a reason to keep them around, but I also kind of feel like having them just hanging out there is potentially a little bit annoying. It's also only displaying the Twitch stuff at the moment. Okay, let me actually fix that real quick. That's an easy fix. I just copied the wrong link. It's not displaying the YouTube chat, which it should be. And the reason I see that is because, hello, even Steven, thank you for joining in here and hanging out. Where is chat options, settings, embedded? So yeah, I'm going to set the hide message after 30 seconds, I think. And then I will copy the proper link this time. So this should reset it. And then after 30 seconds that should disappear. Okay, now that we have that, that's cool. Okay, next up we're going to put in just two spheres, just basic shape sphere. Where does it put that? All the way down there. And those are going to have a, like, purple emissive, yeah, those do need to be parented to the skull, actually. Be a little bit smaller. Wow, they are really, really small already. Holy hell. So that is like 0005. It needs to be that big. No, it's just a little weird with how it works. Oh no, I got that about right. Level 3. And we might put particle systems on this and stuff like that in the future. I don't know. IR IL. Do I already have a, like, emissive, like, lights? I think I already have something emissive. It might need, I might need to be an instance that's just purple emissive. Let me look through this. Glow? Did I call it something like glow? No. Maybe make it 2D plane with a fire effect and place it where the eyes should be. That would be more optimized than what I'm doing. This looks really dopey. Of course, most of these are going to not have them. Only the one that is active has it. That would be probably just a straight up more optimized version of the thing that I have for the lanterns here. It's actually more visible on this one. It just has like a fire particle system in it. I might copy that over, but I do want these to be like distinctly different from the normal lanterns. I could have sworn I had a material that just was... just was emissive with like a exposed parameter. Enemies, where would that be? In materials, obviously. So we've got black and bone and... Okay, emit. I called it emit. Why the fuck would I just call it emit? That is... wholly stupid. Let's make a material instance here. Purple... emission. Hold on, I do have a material instance for spawner, and the what is the parent material here? M color emission. I need to go through and do some stuff for like making sure that I don't fuck up with. Okay, so I called this spawner. But it's just literally, hey, purple emission. At some point I'm going to change the spawner material, and then this is going to weirdly change as well. But the visibility for these by default will be set to none. So we visibility, not visible. And we simply make a event on this. So custom event set eyes visibility, which will just take both of these and set visibility on them. Don't need to copy that reference over twice. That's entirely unnecessary. And then the new visibility will just be a parameter. You should probably rename a lot of assets with proper naming convention. You know... Giving them proper names is one thing. I don't really care about the proper naming convention. Like, calling a material mat underscore. I guess it differentiates it from a material instance, which you would call like mat I underscore. I really like just don't care about it. Like these things that I don't actually interact with on a regular basis, they can just have names. I don't need to like prefix them or anything like that. I think that is like overdoing it a little bit. Giving them better names in general and not just calling your emissive thing emit, because this is just a bad name. But like, this thing is called enemy material. I gain nothing by going in here and adding this. Like, that doesn't gain me anything. Because it's already inside of a material folder. Every instance of this is going to specifically have the name of the enemy that it's going to be. So, like, that doesn't gain me that much. Now, in other folders, like in my blueprints here, if I go into my experience, it makes it easier to search. Yeah, I don't really agree. It makes it more difficult for me personally to actually see stuff, because I'm not going to search with like the prefix for mat underscore. If I want to do that, I just filter on material, right? I just have here like a, well, I don't have the material filter added here at the moment. But I can just like filter by material. And even there I can specifically filter on material instances if I want to. Like, that is a way more useful and powerful, and now I need to unfilter all these, which I might be able to do a couple other time, I don't know. But that is a way more useful way to search things up than with prefixes. That said, if I add a glance like here in the gameplay abilities, being able to say, okay, GA for gameplay ability, side special attack, at a glance I can see, okay, this is the gameplay ability. And these are then gameplay effects, but here, for gameplay abilities it probably doesn't matter because I put those along a folder. But gameplay effects also include things like this like damage gameplay queue. And for the most part it's just a bunch of gameplay effects. But there it is, like easy to prefix. But everything is structured well enough into like a folder structure to the point where it doesn't really, again, do that much. Here again, we do have gameplay queues where we have a difference between gameplay queue and gameplay queue actor. That's easy to see at a glance. So there I do make sure to prefix things in a way that makes sense. I don't think always adding prefixes to everything necessarily helps. And what it does end up doing is it makes every single asset start with the same letters, which actually makes them more difficult to like distinguish at a glance. So I agree that you don't want to just throw all of your assets together in like one big folder and just call it a day, but I also think that like for these materials that I don't actually interface that much with, and for assets that are already like very thoroughly sorted into different folders, it also doesn't really gain me anything. So that's the reason that I don't really care about it. Anyway, so yeah, now let's see. We probably just add an array of... We might as well just make it immediately like the BP Reaper Boss pillar, right? We don't need to make that an action and cast it. What would I save by doing that? It would save a hard reference in the boss itself, but it would then create a hard reference in the behavior tree task. So it really doesn't matter. And this is just a lot easier. So let's make a pillars and call that BP... Not call that, but make that of type BP Reaper Boss Pillar. I can see what you mean with source control if you're not looking at it in engine, and it's specifically if your source control just shows you a bunch of files without like making it immediately clear what folder they're in as well. That can be a good argument. But again, I personally think that making sure that you have like a decent folder structure is way more important. So that is what I focus more of my effort on. Because things will just straight up be easier to find. That needs to be an array, not a single reference. And I think, how many do we have? That's 2, 4, 6. So let's add 6 of them. And we can just start picking them out. Yeah, here. So again, we run into an issue, and I really need to look into finding a solution to this issue, right? We run into the same issue that we had before. I don't know how to make an AI task and when a gameplay ability ends, because you would think that you have just like an easy delegate to like subscribe to or something, but you don't, which is a problem. So I'm going to actually real quick Google this if somebody else has run into this. Unreal gameplay ability system and AI task when ability ends. Surely somebody's... Does anyone know how to wait for the ability to finish? This sounds like something that I need to do. I need to use gas with behavior tree. I want to activate the ability in the behavior tree task. Don't finish the task until the ability ends. What seems to be working for me, just working for now, is add a tag to your ability that will be put on the ability owner. Yeah, so that's a workaround. So what you can do is you can just block the entire behavior tree. So I can just add a decorator here and then like check gameplay tags on actor. And I can set the actor to check to the ability system components. And then I can just check whether or not he is in doing any attack. I don't know why this is dark blue. Oh, because that doesn't work that way. Okay. So we put in like an extra selector here, and then we can just like block the entire behavior tree if an attack is happening. Which is probably a good thing to do anyway. But that's not what I want. I still like... I mean, it works. And it effectively accomplishes the same thing. But it annoys me that I can't just say, hey, wait for this ability to finish the task. Listen for gameplay ability to end? You're not telling me that that's a thing, right? You're not telling me that that's a thing? Is that a thing? Listen. No, it's not. That's somebody that made their own node. Oh, but they do include the entire code for it, so that is actually quite neat. So what does it do? It's does some stuff. I'm not going to make my own node for that if a workaround like I just did simply exists. But really this feels like a feature that gameplay ability should offer by default. So yeah, add a tag. Wait for gameplay tag remove. Wait for attribute changed. That could be interesting. It's not what I'm looking for, but okay, hold on. We can do something else here. We can wait for the gameplay tag to be removed from the actor. And if we just wait for the attack tag to be removed, and then we finish execute, that effectively does the same thing, but in this task itself, instead of just blocking the entire behavior tree. I just want to see if I can wait for other stuff as well. We can wait for a tag to be added. That's also interesting. Wait for event, gameplay event to actor. Wait for effect apply to actor. It's pretty much all the waiting that we can do. Okay, so we probably should do it like this then. Is that necessary to have an array of BP instead of actors? The variables now hard reference after all. New var. Cool name for the variable. Did I call it new var? I called it pillars. Or is there a new var in here? Oh yeah, there is. You're right. So yeah, I talked about this when I made this. Number one, it is going to be needed to have this be specifically a reference to this type, to this class, because we're going to be using the set eye visibilities, we're going to be using the world location of specifically the skull, or maybe we'll just add another scene component with like a transformer in and of itself that we'll be referencing. So we're going to be using stuff specific to this class, so it will eventually need to be specifically a reference to this type of object. And then the question becomes, I can just make this an actors array. Hell, I could make this just an object array if I wanted to. So that the Reaper boss doesn't have a hard reference to it. But at that point, the behavior tree task that's going to be running this, and the gameplay ability rather, that's going to be running this is going to have a hard reference to it. And in the end, it doesn't matter where that hard reference exists, because that gameplay ability is going to be loaded by the Reaper boss anyway. So if the gameplay ability loads these boss pillars and the Reaper boss loads the gameplay ability, I might as well just immediately do that here. And that just makes it a lot easier and simpler to deal with. On top of that, there's never going to be an instance where these pillars are loaded and the boss is not loaded, or the other way around. So it actually literally doesn't matter. Yes, but custom event may be an interface call instead. Yeah, no, definitely. And like this entire thing, like this entire argument is why I recorded a video last week. It's going to go up next week about why casting is fine. For the most part. Well, not for the most part, but casting can be fine. Making hard references can be fine, because like, I don't gain anything by making that an interface. Except spending some more time by making an interface, implementing it, and doing all that stuff. I can do all that, and then not actually gain anything by it, because both of these classes are going to be loaded at the same time anyway. Thing is, I, as the designer and the programmer, am aware of this. So I can make the decision of, okay, I'm not going to spend the time making an entire interface for the express purpose of like doing this one thing that's not going to save me any resources. It's only going to take me like 2 minutes to do, but throughout like an entire game worth of work, if you spend that 2 minutes to do that in places where it is not needed, and you do that like 100 times, you've just lost 3 hours of your time, which could be spent elsewhere. And as we all know, as game developers, we're always short on time, so... I try not to get bogged down by, like, theoretically, like, best practices, which don't actually end up contributing to, like, actual optimization. With all that said, now let's make the gameplay ability for this, which is going to be a play basic attack animation thingamajig. Where did I put that folder again? I kind of got sidetracked there talking about casting, as I tend to do. It's a topic that comes up a lot, which is fair. It's good that people are like cognizant and aware of what casting does, or what hard references do, because I'm not actually casting here, I'm just making a hard reference. Blueprints. Oh, it's in enemies, there we go. Characters, bosses, Reaper, play basic attack animation, that's the one. So this will be the gameplay Reaper teleport attack. Same thing here, right? I'm casting to the Reaper boss. This is an ability that's going to get executed by the Reaper boss, so this, again, does not matter. We're not going to play a montage and wait. And ability, we'll keep that around. Keep that around. We'll still do this. That is fine. Okay, from there we will get the pillars. And this is the thing, okay? We have these pillars here. If that was just an actor array, now I would need to like start like I would need to get, or a random item, that's what it's called, and then I would need to cast that anyway, because from here I'm going to get the skull. Which, yes, I could make an interface to get the skull, and that would be all I need. But again, I don't gain anything by that. And we'll get the world transformer position. Do we have a world position? Get world location. Works for me. And we will add something to that. So we'll add, I don't know, like 200. I'll say 250 units to that. And we will also, well, we will eventually set the visibility for visibility for the entire actor, pretty please. Oh, is it set actor? Hidden in game? No. So easy to get caught up on one small thing. I spent several hours trying to sync sound effects to movement of a static mesh and had a eureka moment. That sounds like a pain. Like if you're doing it with Unreal's vanilla tools, I think if you're using something like Fmod or Wise, that might be a little easier. But then you're doing it the other way around. You're syncing the movement to the sound effect and not the other way around. Which might also be a viable option. But yeah, so let's just set visibility. I thought you could do that for the entire actor, but maybe let's just set actor hidden in game. We'll just do it for the capsule component and then propagate to children. That is fine, I think. Let's just pretend like it is. And the new visibility will, for now, be just set to true because I want to troubleshoot it, but eventually he'll disappear, obviously. Because I don't know what he's going to do when he spawns on top of there. Is he going to just fall off? He might just fall off. Which reminds me that I need to go into the character movement component here and set his gravity scale to 0. That'll probably help quite a bit. So now he shouldn't fall off at least. Okay, from there we get the set visibility, set eye visibility to true for this one. And then I guess what we do maybe is we also make a variable here which is just like follow player. It was easy in the end. I used a % playback from the audio component as the alpha for a lerp instead of using a timeline. Huh. That works. That does work. And then when we set this to a value of false, what we want to do is we want to set this back to its default. But I do want it to actually be slightly looking down. And I probably also only want it to be... Oh, but that is... Ooh, that is something, isn't it? If I set this to world... Okay, so maybe we want to add in a scene component here to parent the skull to. Because this can now just, in theory, no, it cannot do that. No, it can. Let's reset the... Can the scene component not rotate what's under it? It seems like it cannot. Okay. Not going to worry about that too much for now. But what I do want to do is I think I just want to get a default rotation. So start rotation. And we'll just set that on begin play. It's not exactly ideal, but get rotation. Relative rotation, I guess, will work. And then we will set the relative rotation when we stop following. So set relative rotation. Are we going to do that with... yeah, no, let's just do that. Let's just snap it for the time being. We might want to do like an F interp or whatever. Or a R interp, because it's not a float, it's a rotator. So yeah. It should be able to rotate comms, but it could always be that the rotation is set to world. Oh, that might be it. That might be it, because it was being rotated. Yeah, I think you've got a point. Let's try that out real quick. I think you're right. So now this should be able to... Yeah, okay. This way it can just swivel around and not end up like doing weird stuff like this, right? And clipping through. Because I would very much prefer that not to be the case. Okay. In that case, we get the relative rotation for this. And we set the relative rotation for this, which I think at this point we don't need to save, because that's just literally going to be 0, 0, 0. Or not? Maybe? Is it? Yes, it is. Yeah, so we don't really need to save that if it's just going to rotate it to 0, 0, 0. There's no real use in that, I don't think. We can always add that back in later if we really need to. Okay, so the idea would be then, if follow player is true, we interp our current rotation to our target rotation. And our target rotation will just be the look at rotation. So find look at rotation. Start will be skull get world position. Oh, but that is location, of course. Yeah, no. Maybe it's always location in Unreal and I'm just getting mixed up because I was using Godot last weekend. I don't know. Get player character. Get player character. Could be pawn. I don't care. Get actor location. Maybe we want to do this actually for this... yeah, let's do this for the scene component instead. I think that makes more sense. I don't know... This might end up with it being like weirdly offset or something like that. Anyway, we want to set local... Only rotation. Set rotation, please. Our relative. It's really annoying how... and I'm sure there's a good reason for this, but it's kind of annoying how the local location is called local and rotation is called relative. Please just be consistent with that. That would make me so happy. Anyway, R interp to constants. The current will be the get relative. Oh, there is a relative location. So am I just like... There's also a local location, right? Local... Oh. There's also a local rotation. Okay. I just understood the difference between them. If anybody is going to correct me in chat. Relative is relative to its parent. Local is relative to its root. Have I checked this? No. Am I certain of this? Like 95% yes. And this is going to be its target. And then we pass in the delta time, and the interrupt speed is going to be like freaking 15. I don't know. It's probably going to need to be a little bit more than 15, but we'll figure that out in a moment. Let's make sure that all these are a little bit more readable than they currently are. I said a little bit. Not a lot. Okay, so let's just set the... Just for testing purposes, let's go in and test this. Let's set the follow player to true. Actually, let's do this a more interesting way. Let's set eyes visibility to true on begin play. Then we will just like delay for 15 seconds, and then we'll set it to false. That way we immediately know if the function works properly in its entirety. So now everything should have eyes in it when we enter, and everything should be following me is the ID. They seem to... Okay, there's a couple of issues. Couple small issues. Number one being... we only want to rotate the Z. The X and the Y we want to not rotate. And then we have the issue where... I guess it should be 0. Okay, and then we have the issue where this thing's forward vector seems to be like perpendicular or something. So that's not ideal. And I think the interrupt speed also needs to be higher. Where did we leave that? So let's set that to like 35. I think this is speed per second, right? Like degrees per second that it can change. Okay, and let's try to get the relative rotation for the... or the location for the skull. It still shouldn't matter actually, because the location is going to be the same. So this shouldn't change that much. Yeah, so they're like... That one back there seems to be looking at me though. Oh, because they... Okay, that is an issue. Is it an issue? Hold on. I think I might just be misunderstanding something. What I'm doing is get world location for this. I'm setting the relative rotation. I need to set the world rotation. That is the issue. Set world rotation instead. And of course that means that we need to get world rotation too. So I was bitching about all the like relative or local shenanigans. Turns out I shouldn't have been messing with local and relative anyway, because we need to set this in world space. That should, in theory, fix that, I think. Because this returns something in world space already, yes. Okay, so now they're all looking sort of at me. As in, they're all looking 90 degrees away from me. This very much seems like a... an issue where if I just... Like... this is really annoying. if I just turn this 90 degrees, that should fix it, I think. And then I just need to turn the pillars themselves 90 degrees as well. Yeah, so now they're all always looking toward me, which is actually kind of like low-key creepy, and then they snap back, all of them, and they lose their eyes. Okay, so all of them just need to be turned by 90 degrees. So just all 90 degrees, 90 degrees. And I think 35 might still be a little bit too slow, so let's do something like 55 instead for the speed. I know that I'm focusing in and troubleshooting, well, not even troubleshooting, just like fine-tuning this very unimportant part of this ability now, but I'm kind of having fun with it. So, and it needs to be done eventually anyway, right? Okay, that's cool. I think if I now angle this thing back down a little bit more, it's going to be significantly more creepy as well, because it'll be actually like more so looking toward me. Yeah, that does feel like immediately more creepy, right? You can see the eyes a little bit better and stuff. Okay. Cool. So those pillars kind of just work now. So the idea is that we get back to this gameplay ability, finally. Is that we pick one of those random ones, we set the eye visibility to being true. Then we delay for a random float in range. This potentially is something that I want to change as the fight goes on. So the delay between the start of like the skull possession and the actual attack probably needs to be shorter as the fight goes on. For now, it's just going to be a random float between like 5 and 8 seconds as just a rough guess as to what will feel good. But when the boss is closer to death, I feel like that should probably be close to like 3 to 5 seconds, right? To have the pacing of the fight be higher, given otherwise this attack, which is supposed to be like a scary oh my god what is happening attack, is going to feel more like a momentary reprieve. And if there's any moment in the fight that maybe should feel not like a momentary reprieve too much, it's this. This should be a I need to look where he's going to come from, otherwise he's going to fuck up my day kind of feel. So this ability also will deal like a significant more amount of damage than normal attacks. So once that delay is complete, then we set its visibility to being true again. And then we kind of just copy the dashing, to be honest with you. Oh, we also definitely want to set B is on spline to false right away. We don't want him to go back to the spline. That would be a bad thing. So let's just section this off over here. And then I'm just gonna kind of copy all of this stuff over. Because I could make this into a separate function and then just make this a child of dash as well. That way if I change something here, I probably should. Yeah, let's do that. So let's collapse this into a function. get boss variables, get boss vars, that's fine. And then dash and attack. Because really what that teleport attack is just a little bit in between these two things. So if I just collapse to function, which I can't do because, oh, I can't, never mind, can't collapse them to function because these are latent nodes. So you can't actually do that. But you can collapse them to an you can make them into an event. So custom event, dash and attack. Which also will include the end ability. Now I do think that we had a Reaper boss reference into this as well. And then here, like on timed out, I think. Apply root motion with force. Oh, this is only the dash. Okay, let's do this dash. Oh, but no, hold on. If this is only the dash. If this is only the dash, we don't want to... No, we don't actually want to do that then. Let's just Ctrl-Z our way back. Because this is going to be a dash and attack. And the way we do dash and attack for the other attacks is just after we do the dash, we just do another ability that's an attack. But these do need to be in the same ability. Do they? Yeah, they do. But that's going to be trouble. Because this... I suppose we just put this one all the way over here then, right? This one has the highest priority, but it's just got a cooldown on it. And then we don't need this selector. So this will just be its default state. When we're close by, it'll try to attack. And when, regardless of how far away we are, when this cooldown runs out, it's going to allow us to attack this again. I wish we could programmatically easily influence how long that cooldown takes, because that's going to be like another thing that I probably want to do. And have random deviation and stuff like that. This one is, however, not going to abort anything else happening, I don't think. This one will just wait for its turn to fire. So if it's in the middle of like doing an ability or whatever, it's just going to hang out for a moment and just let that happen. I don't want... Yeah, and if it's in the middle of this sequence, it's also going to... So that will make it less... less predictable, right? Because if it is in the middle of like this wait sequence, like this passive sequence, when this timer runs out, it's not immediately going to cancel this and then move into this. It's going to wait for the sequence to finish, then come through the second time or the next time, and then it's going to be doing this instead. So yeah, that's the way we're going to do that. Okay, going back to our Reaper Dash. We are in fact just going to copy this over. Where did we put that other teleport attack? There we go. Don't need that. Don't need that. Did we never set... Oh, we never set them to the new location, did we? Hold on. That very much is a thing that we should be doing. Set location. Already loving the very noodle soup that we have for this ability. yeah, so we're going to be setting it to this location. That'll be fine. And this bit is going to be the dash. I'm going to put a comment on this real quick. Set to activate random pillar and set boss to location. And then this is going to be the dash, which connects up like this. Yes. Player location is going to be an issue because that variable doesn't exist here. We'll just make that real quick and that should fix that. And Reaper boss. Sure. Okay, so now let's look back into how this works again, because I think this is the speed at which he... No, this is the speed at which he moves. So dividing this by a higher number will create a lower duration, so a bigger speed. So this should be like 3500 for this, so that it is going to be faster movement. So when he shows up, he's going to be moving faster. You're going to need to react faster and get out of the way. And then when either timeout or destination is reached, we want to play montage and wait. And the montage we're going to play is going to be, for now at least, just the Reaper attack, like 1, I think. That's the fastest one we have. Yeah, I still haven't fixed a weight painting thing. Every time I open this project, I am reminded. I swear to God, at some point we will. So yeah, and then uncompleted, we end ability. Hold on, can we end task from here? What is this? Target's gameplay ability. Add any task with this instance name to a list to be ended. Surely that's not a behavior tree task, right? I'm gonna look that up real quick. That'd be weird. Unreal gas and task by instance name. Yeah, that again doesn't do anything because Unreal's documentation sucks. Okay, never mind, we're not going to look into that too much. But I do want to run gameplay task. Spawn actor gameplay task. Run explorer task. Do we have like any... This is all gameplay ability stuff, right? Yeah, this is all gameplay task. Oh, task is just like one of those nodes. That's why it's ending probably. AI. Yeah, never mind. Hi, and is Unreal good? I mean, I'm using it. I've been using it for a while for this big project, so I would hope so. I changed from Unity to Unreal to make this after like 4 months of doing this in Unity. So hopefully that gives an answer, at least as to my opinion. So yeah, I guess we just kind of check out whether or not this ability works now, right? And we can also at the same time check whether or not this works instead, because that would be ideal. I guess we technically should make this a variable tag to watch for end. Probably fine to add some spaces in there, to be honest. Still is going to just have the default value of why are you being a little bitch boy, because we want to see Okay, we can't actually put an actor into there, then that's fine. I was going to say, I don't know if I need to watch the ability system component or whatever for that, but it's probably fine. And we finish execute only once that is removed, which does lead me into this thing's class defaults. We do want to... Oh, we have a entire setup for a gameplay tag to add and remove for ourselves, but I think we have... Okay, we need to go over a couple of things before we can actually test this out. Unreal uses this visual scripting thing called Blueprint and C++, but if you only know C#, I don't think you should worry too much. C# and C++ are quite similar as it is. C++ is usually a lot more of a headache because of memory management stuff. But Unreal kind of takes care of that for you. So there's a couple more, there's a couple different syntax things that you need to get used to. Recognizing what pointers and references are and the differences is quite important in order to understand what parameters for functions takes in. But aside from that, C++ and Unreal is effectively just C#. That pretends to be cool. So I wouldn't worry too much about that, to be honest with you. Okay, let's go over all these abilities. But there we have the thing, right? Because this is not actually an attack. I probably should remove this as well, otherwise none of this is going to work. Oh, but that doesn't actually need to wait for it, does it? I probably should. Okay, we're just going to add simply attack. I'm going to just copy that over real quick because it's going to be real annoying otherwise. Gameplay abilities attack. We already have that. Slow attack, attack, teleport attack, attack. And I guess for now we can just add an attack tag to this too. And I'm going to put this to the side to see whether or not this does what I wanted to do. Which it, knowing my luck, probably won't. It's also, I think, immediately going to start off with that one attack, isn't it? Oh no, it's going to start off in its passive state. Okay, so then it does all of that. So that cooldown starts as being locked, it seems. Where did he go? Where did he go? Oh, there he is. Okay, so I just need to hang around for about 45 seconds for him to actually do that attack. I probably should have... I think it works. No, it doesn't. So how is it actually ending the attack task way before that node even happens at all? Okay, so first things first. Oh, yeah, that's never gonna run, is it? Let's remove that for now. But it still doesn't really quite do what I wanted to do. So let's check, right? Print string. Wait until a specific tag is removed from an actor or from an actor's ability component. Or rather, wait for a gameplay tag is removed from an abilities component, so not the act itself. If the tag is not present when the task is started, it will immediately broadcast the removed event. It will keep listening as long as only trigger once is false. Okay. So that is probably what is happening. It is trying to activate this ability by class, then immediately checking this before that is applied. So if we just add in like 1/10 of a second of delay, which is a little hacky, but it'll probably work. By the time we get to this, presumably the tag will now be applied. And that system will work. We'll figure it out by just walking up to him. Yeah, no. No. We made Reaper Pong. We just made Pong with him. I hold on, we're going to, now that he doesn't have gravity anymore, this actually has become a problem. Reaper boss. What did I do? Like Unreal, prevent character from being pushed around. My problem was when player character had a static weapon mesh that charted through. That might be the issue. No, because my weapon doesn't have collision. How to stop a physics object from being pushed by the player. Inside the character movement component you can say B push force scale to mass or B touch scale to mass. Okay. See if you get the desired effects. You may also need to add a repulsion force. I just want to like not have to do any of that. I guess what it comes down to is we can just say, I don't know if this will work. We're about to find out, but if it doesn't simulate physics to begin with, but its collision might be doing some stuff. Yeah, so it's got query and physics. So maybe I only want query and no physics. Maybe that's what I did before. Or maybe I just set his mass to be like absolutely humongous so that I couldn't push it around. Might have been what I did, if I'm being real with you. Because I can still push him around, I think. Right, I still can. Yeah. This is really annoying. Let's see, we might... Like, weapon will be an overlap thing. Maybe it is colliding with the weapon because it did say block. But it still doesn't make a lot of sense. Let's just... mass scale fucking 100. This might make the problem go away. It's not a good solution to the problem. But if it is a solution, you're not going to hear me complaining. So yeah, I'm definitely not pushing him anymore. So that's kind of a solution. Again, bad solution. But is there such a thing as a bad solution if it is solving the problem? Because I don't think so. Now, I do think, now that we have this set up, I actually want him to also ignore pawns. I want the mesh itself to be the thing blocking the pawn. So that way we can get up closer to him, and we don't get, like, pushed up against an invisible wall when we get up decently close. So I think that'll do with this, right? So yeah, now we can do all that, but we still can't go through him, right? I mean, it's... No, okay, we can actually move through him, I think. No, okay, that's a little bit better. Okay, that's good enough. Okay, cool. That problem was fixed now. It's been a problem that I've been annoyed with for literally weeks. And it's really good that we've now finally solved it. So let's again look at the dashing and attacking. I didn't look at the behavior tree there. That's a little, like, that's my bad. Yeah, no, it still immediately moves on. So that task, that doesn't work. And I'll do you one better, actually, because, and this is actually an issue, now that I think about it, we can't just block the rest of the behavior tree with a tag either, because that's not going to fix this sequence where we do an ability and have to wait for this ability to do this ability. So we actually need to figure this out for this to work. So I was really confused there for a second why this didn't have any values, but it's because the values are given here. So abilities to activate. I guess he just doesn't have this tag anyway. Oh, that's ability tags. Hold on. Which one is it? Activation. Act to apply to activate an owner while the ability is active. Yeah. So I just did a fuck up. I just put the tags in the wrong slot. Activation owned. That's the one, right? I always get these mixed up. Yes, activation owned. Which might also mean... Let's test whether or not this works first, but that might also then mean that... again, I don't know why I keep putting this back to being docked, because I'm definitely like gonna do that again instantly. We might not need that like tenth of a second delay in there either. I don't think it'll hurt, but if we don't need it, like, why keep it, right? Okay. I also definitely should decrease the length of waiting in that waiting node, because this is kind of ridiculous. Yes, it works! It stays on that ability, or that task until the ability is done, and then moves on to the next task. Okay. Fantastic. Now, this is why I keep... I can just, like, minimize it. That's a lot easier. Now, next one is if we move out the delay node. I was thinking maybe it only like activates the ability and applies the tag on the next frame. Sometimes it does do stuff like that, right? Like when you delete an actor, you can still put code after the deleting node because the actor doesn't actually get deleted until the start of the next frame. It just puts it in a list of things to delete. So some things work like that sometimes, but this one doesn't. So that's actually just straight up perfect. That's great. Grand. Don't change anything about it. Now, we just need to survive for about 45 seconds. And then he's going to probably move into his idle state. And after the idle state, he's going to come back. It works out pretty well, actually. He's going to come back and do the teleport attack, I think. Or he might just do the teleport attack first. One or the other. I don't know. Oh. Something happened there. Something happened there. Hold on. Build ability spectrum class. Like something went like really fucking wrong there. Does this have an empty slot in the array? No, it doesn't. Oh, it tried to do this, but okay. At least I was looking in the right direction for an empty ability slot. But obviously, yeah, we need to add the Reaper. Oh god, which one is it? I have two with the same name. The one that is currently selected. I probably should call it Reaper Boss Teleport Attack. I'm going to set this delay to being shorter because I just want to test this. So let's set this to like 10 seconds instead. So how's everybody doing today? I think we're making some good progress. We're making some good stuff. Well, I don't know if it's good. I hope it is. Okay, so it's trying to do like... Okay, it's... I think it's bugging the fuck out again because... like, oh, it did a thing! It did a thing. It just didn't move the... Okay, hold on. It's not visually displaying these states properly. So the ability doesn't properly work yet, I don't think, because he just kind of hangs out and then teleports up. He needs to teleport up and then hang out. Yeah, so okay, he's going to be teleporting from there. How do... What? He doesn't even teleport up there. Okay, we can be reasonably sure about the behavior tree side of things working now, so we don't need to worry about that. Let's go back to the ability, because something is definitely messing up there. Reaper dash attack 1, Reaper dash attack, Reaper... Okay, teleport attack. So, we're setting him to not be on spline, so he stops moving. We set the visibility. We're going to be setting that to false, but again, for troubleshooting purposes. We set the visibility for the... Oh... Yeah, so what I think might be happening is... This doesn't just generate a value once. It is getting called when this happens, and then it's getting called again when this happens, maybe. It still doesn't make sense. Oh, hold on. The set actor location happens after the delay. Okay, that is the first thing to look into. Is the fact that this definitely should be happening before this delay. Yeah, I think the random thing gets called twice in this case, because it works backwards, right? It's not an execution node that just generates a value once. It probably runs every time it's called. Okay, so you move up there. For some reason now yeah, you see, it's teleporting to a different... I mean, that all works. And then it's setting something else. Okay, so that just needs to be saved. Or cached. So we just need to pick a random one and promote that to a variable. Skull pillar. So that it actually uses the same one over and over and over again. Because we are referencing it like 3 times. That's not the one that should be being called on. We reference it like 3 times, and every time it's generating a new random one, which obviously is not what we want to do, like at all, not even a little bit. So, and then on this one as well. So now it should more or less work, right? And we'll add some like revealing and maybe disappearing particles eventually to this. That doesn't seem like something that we really ought to be focusing on right this second. So he slashes at us and then he disappears to, yeah, right there. And then... Okay, so there's one issue left, and that is that this thing doesn't get turned back off, and I think I know what the issue is. Set new visibility here should be... I'm just using the wrong function, that's what the issue is. And it should be set to false. Because this set visibility... Oh, I'm just not... Yeah. The set visibility should be referring to... Okay, hold on. We're going to do a thing. Set visibility here should be referring to the boss itself. And then this will be set to being invisible. And now... the ability should work as intended. Which means that he will just disappear very quickly. That thing is going to be looking at me, and that's it. That's what the ability does. Now with some more like dramatic flair to it, that's hopefully going to be a little bit better. I also do think that it still could be faster. Then again, well, you have some time to like move away from it, right? So I think upgrading this to like 5,000, which is like a solid almost 50% faster on top again, might not be a bad thing. So let's try to see. As a result, you don't actually want to hide him behind the fountain. You want to have like a visual on him. Okay, yeah. That's the one. That seems a lot better. It feels like he needs to be angled down a little bit more. Which I guess we can try to do. Because now it feels like he's falling down a little too much. It really needs to feel like he's dashing toward you. This is the teleport attack, right? So yeah. When all that happens, like this, we can try to get skeletal mesh. Just get mesh. Get mesh. Set relative rotation. No, set relative rotation. And there, I guess we can... get look, find look at rotation. Just in 3 directions. And we'll also need to, at some point, on ability end. Do we have an ability end here somewhere? We do. Just gonna pull it along to here. We're gonna need to set that back at some point as well, right? To just 0, 0, 0. So for now, just do that on ability end. We might want to like interpolate that, whatever. At the moment, I don't care. And let's actually do that after setting the player location variable, because we're going to be using that anyway. So no real use in getting that twice. That's pretty much good for nothing, right? And then we also have get our own active location. We already have this stuff. We already have a... Well, I suppose that's just a vector, not a rotator. This is what happens when I'm not entirely paying attention and I just end up like remaking functionality that already exists. Which is always fun. Let's see if that actually does what I wanted to do. It might straight up not, but I think it will angle him down a little bit more, so it feels like he's going head first toward us rather than like trying to slap his with his like rib cage. Maybe. Hopefully. We'll see. Okay. He comes at us a little bit strangely, not gonna lie. That's not what I had in mind. Fucking shoulder first. Sure. I guess we can just like add. There's a function for that, right? Like add or combine rotators. That's it. I'm guessing if I just add 90 to it, he's gonna like either come at us ass first, or he's going to come at us the way I want him to come at us. Actually, no. I'm doing the same mistake again. I'm using relative. I'm setting the relative rotation, and I want to set the world rotation for this thing. It's the second time today I'm making that mistake. What I want to do is I want to set world. God damn it! Set world rotation. And then here it's going to be important that we set the world rotation to 0, 0, 0 specifically again. Let's make a redirecting node here just in case I messed up again. It'll be easier to replace. What did I mess up? Oh, that's no longer being executed. That's a good point. This looks really cool. Have you created any AI logic for NPCs, racers, or basic vehicle? I've never really done vehicle stuff. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? There he is. Yeah, that still doesn't... Oh, and now he's just facing away from me, isn't he? You're not telling me that... Is this guy rotated by default? He is! Okay, I guess... Like, let's see what happens when we set this guy back to 0. Because that's probably going to mess up his normal looking at us. Yes, it is. So that's not ideal. But now this should work. Right? Except, okay. No. It does not. But that is a doable fix. Because that is a matter of swapping these two around. We're starting at the... it's because we're starting at the player character and... Oh. Target is... player... I think we were just trying to find rotation from player to player. So that might have been... But it still doesn't fully make sense. I think I should go in Blender and actually re-export this. I need to re-export this anyway. Because now the character's forward vector and this mesh's forward facing like art don't match up, I don't think. Yeah. Because the forward vector for this entire actor is still this arrow that we can see if we look like real close. Like there's an arrow in there. That's the forward vector for the this arrow. That little thing blue that we can see somewhere like that. That is facing in that direction. So that's the forward vector for the actor as a whole. So for now we're just going to like not do this. And we'll get back around to this if it ends up bothering me enough. I think is what we will do there. Okay. That more or less puts that ability. Do I still have the same thing on my clipboard? Of course I don't. Now, check HP percent below. Observer board doesn't really matter. Like, let's say only below 60% is when he starts doing this attack. That kind of does everything we needed to do for that ability. Now I want to make one more extra ability, and this is going to be quite a simple one, I think. But what we'll do is we need to go into the animations for this guy. Level sequences, which also actually means that we need to open up my animation level. Hold on. Levels. Just save all assets actually. And then in here, oh, we're already in levels. I have a specific animation level in which I do all the animations. Which now I think about it very much could also just be in that other area. Like I could just instantiate that in there now that I think about it. This is also what I use for like testing purposes and stuff though, so it doesn't really matter. Let's go back to our level sequences and we're going to quick attack 1 is going to be projectile swipe. And we're going to kind of just speed that up, to be honest with you. Just like kind of make this like specifically this as well. It's going to be a fair bit faster. And probably have more follow through. Like add one more keyframe in here. Somewhere on the rig. Animation, rig, there we go. Probably want this guy to have a fair bit more follow through from the spine as well. And then the arms themselves. I don't know if this is actually like a good animation at this point. Holy hell, what the... For these keyframes, I suppose we just remove this stuff. And we replace it with something, I don't know. Make this even faster. Maybe not that much. Okay, this as a whole being like 17 frames. Anticipation being a tad bit longer. That makes sense to me. Let's do that. Okay, cool. Let's extend that to 18 frames just so that it'll do for now. We're going to make that into a linked animation sequence, which will be put in like some fucking folder somewhere. Animation, characters, bosses, Reaper, animation sequences, Reaper, projectile attack. I just don't exactly know where I'm going to put this into the behavior tree yet. I guess when it decides to attack from a distance, it can choose between a dashing attack and another attack. I've been needing to make this a task or a decorator that just chooses like 50-50 whether or not one or the other happens. I'll show you what I mean in a second. Like it has a 50% chance or a certain percentage chance of when we get to it to actually be executed. So that does a little bit of randomness to some of the behavior as well. Again, I'll show you in a moment when we actually get to doing that. Because now we probably need to finally make that decorator. That's going to make some of the behavior to create a lot better, probably. So we make this into an animation montage. It's fine. Put that montage in there. And then we also want to put in a notify here. Right about probably there-ish, I would imagine. Notifies. Add notify. Spawn projectile. And we need to make the projectile and all that kind of stuff. But for now, well, no, actually, that is the next thing up on the list to do, I think. I was going to say for now, let's not worry about that, but I think that is literally the next thing that we need to worry about. We need to just like duplicate this real quick. Gameplay ability, Reaper projectile. Okay, that does make me think of a couple of things that we're going to need to take a look at in a second, but again, we'll worry about that later. Wait for... and deal damage. Oh, no. wait for and deal damage. No, god damn it. Doing the wrong one again. Wait for and deal damage. I'm still a little sluggish maybe from like live streaming for 6.5 hours this weekend. It seems like, perhaps. Okay, so all that this is going to do is it's literally just going to play montage and wait. So play montage and wait. The montage that's going to play is going to be the projectile attack that I just made. And then when that is completed, we delay for like a second. No, mate. Okay, so the thing that I'm thinking about, right, is because we are dealing this damage through a function on the ability itself, which is starting to show why that is an issue, perhaps. Like, we're doing all this stuff instead of in a calculation class and then just like casting in that class instead. We're doing all this in the gameplay abilities that execute the attack to begin with, which is fine for melee abilities. But what's happening here is we're spawning in a projectile, and now we either have to wait for that projectile to finish doing its thing, there's no either. We just have to wait for that thing to finish doing its thing before we can end that ability, because the ability itself is going to be waiting for a potential damage event. We can't end the ability and then still have that projectile out there, because that projectile is only going to deal damage as long as the ability is still technically around and active. We could just, for the most part, like copy all this stuff into that projectile, and that would also work, instead of that projectile just sending a gameplay event for damage through. I think it's fine to wait around until the thing gets destroyed, maybe. Yeah, so play montage and wait. When the montage is done playing, we just wait and we do nothing, and we just wait and deal for damage. And I think this also it does not. Okay, so that is also an issue. Is that ideally that should have like a delegate for when it does deal damage. I suppose we can just wait for the same tag. Wait for gameplay. Wait for event, something like that. Wait for event to actor. I think that is the thing that we're. Wait gameplay event. Damage event tag. So then we can just damage event tag. So when that damage gets dealt, we're also going to end the gameplay ability. I will add in a delay node here just to be sure of like a tenth of a second, so that I'm assuming, but that's a wild assumption, that this is going to get executed before this. But there's nothing leading me to believe so. But this is all going to be executed within one tick. So if I wait a tenth of a second, we're definitely going to be done with dealing the damage. And we can safely end the ability. So I think that works for me. Yes. Which brings me to the projectile. For now, the projectile is going to just be a simple bullet. So let's say, I think I already actually just straight up have a bullet that I can reuse now. What the hell? That's not what I want to do. That I can just simply reuse, but I need to do this in... this is a little iffy to do it like this, but I need to do this in the animation blueprint because it's done through notify. So, spawn projectile. Ideally, we shouldn't put in the spawn actor from class node here. We should run a event on the boss Reaper itself to do that. But it doesn't matter that much. So I think I just have like a bullet class, projectile class, spider projectile. I think that's the placeholder for everything that is a projectile in this game. So this is, holy fuck, a mess is what it is. Jesus. It'll do for now. This is beautiful. This is a nightmare, is what it is. Holy. A matter of fact, this has way more going for it. Like, this also has the ability to be bounced back and stuff and hit other enemies. I'm just gonna make a new projectile class for specifically this. Because I don't trust this. Let's just make a new actor. BP Reaper projectile. Projectile movement. It's going to have no gravity. Its initial speed is going to be like... I don't know, it's probably something that we want to set dynamically as well, but... Max speed... Okay, I've always wanted... 0 means no limit. I always set this to the same as the initial speed, just out of habit. You very much don't need to. Should bounce? Definitely not. But it should home, which is built in, I believe. Homing projectile. Homing acceleration magnitude. Like 150. It's just something that we're going to need to experiment with. Oh, it's right down there. Okay, for now we're just going to do this with a sphere, and the sphere is going to have only overlap collision. So just no collision. Now it's going to have custom collision, never mind. It's going to ignore everything except for overlapping with pawn and overlapping with world static. So when it hits the floor, it also explodes. So yeah, and on overlap, like this is on overlap, right? We simply... Yeah, see, this is bad. I don't know when I made this, but I made this when I was an idiot, which might have been like last month, to be honest. I think I made this at the start of the project, when I was still getting back into Unreal. But this is dumb, doing it this way. Like, I'm checking is action RPG project character, then I'm checking specifically for is enemy, then I'm checking for whether or not it is colliding with the weapon. I mean, I suppose this is fine, but it's also not great. So on overlap, all that we need to do is we need to send through the instigator, which is the get instigator. That is fair. And then the target, which is probably just, yeah, whatever it hits. That's all that we need to send through. So see how much simpler this is. That's how simple it can be. And then we want to look out for damage enemy bullet in the ability itself as well. We do want to check though if other actor is equal to the instigator, meaning the thing that spawned it. Because it shouldn't do anything if it overlaps with its instigator. The spawn transform that's going to be an interesting one. I also definitely need to like make just a variable here for Reaper Balls instead of casting every single time. Again, it doesn't matter, but it's like, why would you? Get like weapon. What did I call the weapon? Weapon static mesh. Get weapon static. Get static. Why can't I get that? What's going on there? Is it just, oh, it's because it's called weapon mesh. Weapon mesh. Huh? I know what the issue is. I know what the issue is. I am fully aware what the issue is. It is the C++ class, because that is not blueprint read write or blueprint write only or blueprint read only or whatever. And it's not even in here because it's in the boss base class. Which takes a moment to open up because VS Code is sometimes a little slow. There we go. Weapon static mesh. So this should be blueprint read only. Don't write this. We want to read only. Hopefully that should be all there is to it, I think. Maybe. Let's try it again. Get a weapon. Static mesh. There we go. From there though, we need to get a socket. That was the thing that I was going to do. Sockets. Yeah, so for some reason this is now in a depot. Don't know why. Probably just a live coding thing. Oh, yeah, we made a bunch of sockets on this, which we shouldn't be using anymore. Are we? I don't think we are. Let's remove some of these sockets, because I don't think most of these are in use anymore. And if they are, we're going to find out quite quickly. So this is the weapon top, weapon bottom. I do use those. And then we have like attack, spawn, location. That's the only one that I need. get sockets transform. We want that to be the world space transform, and the socket name will be just copied over. Not taking any chances of me mistyping it. And the instigator will be, of course, it's quite important here because we're actually passing that through for some informational stuff. Oh, it was T-posing because the animation blueprint was not compiling. That makes sense. Did you try 5.4 yet? I did. I have a couple of videos on some 5.4 features. This project is not in 5.4 yet. It eventually will be because I am using nanite tessellation for a couple of things in 5.3, and it's not officially supported in 5.3, and it's a little bit buggy at times. So after we've done this entire like boss fight thing, we will be upgrading this eventually to 5.4, which, if that goes well, that'll be nice. If things break, there'll probably be a fun stream of me troubleshooting. Hopefully that won't be necessary. Okay, anyway, we have a new projectile class as well for Reaper projectile now. So in theory, that should be all there is to that. Except we need to set the value for this. So this would be, I think it was enemy attack, something like that. Attack? Spider ranged? No. Let's just check out what the damage enemy bullets. I need to close some of these things that I'm no longer using because it's getting hard to find what I need to. Yeah. Let's see. It was damage enemy bullets that we're looking out for. Which is going to be the same for both of them, I think. Your 3070 died this under. That fucking sucks. Especially since, like, to run Unreal reasonably, you do need like at least halfway powerful GPU. We're not using Ability End anymore because it didn't work that way. We have a different solution now, which is great. Okay, so we have that ability now. How are we going to implement that? I think the way we're going to implement that is we're going to do... in this sequence, we're going to put in a selector, which is going to put in another sequence. Yes. So it's either going to do this, or it's going to just do a ability, and that do ability is going to be the one ability, which is Reaper Boss Projectile Attack or something like that. Reaper Projectile. I can get rid of the duration variable there as well. And that is going to then need a... simple decorator, which I guess we'll just make real quick. Enemies, AI... decorator... Don't even need a blackboard base, just a normal decorator. BTD random chance. I was initially just going to do this as a get a random bool, yes or no, but I think I'm going to do this as a float, literally a random chance. So what we'll do is we will put in a... first and foremost, we need to have the... It's really annoying that when you make a decorator, it doesn't just automatically make the execute function, because I always forget what it's called. There's no reason for it not to, because you're always going to be using that. Unreal Decorator C++ function name. Calculate raw condition value. It's like, it's not even a... With like this signature, okay, this signature actually just is everything blueprint or behavior tree related, so that's not that big a deal. But it's kind of annoying. Like, it's a long name, it's easy to forget. Anyway, with all that, we simply put in a U property, add it anywhere, sure. This will be a float chance. Default will be 50%, that's fine. And then we just float random value is between 0 and 1. If float random value is less than chance, true, else false. And that's all there is to that. That's as simple as that's going to be. That's as simple as that needs to be. But now we have a node where we can finally... Okay, fail error. Open... Fail to... Oh, yeah. It's because of action, RPG, projects. Because I did that at some point and it's really annoying. Probably going to need to do that in the header file as well, right? No, I don't. Okay, cool. Okay, so now we can just put that decorator on here. And we can say... probably actually is better to make this on a scale of 1 to 100, because that feels like it makes more logical sense. Right? To me it does. Like that is actually like putting in a percentage instead of putting in a decimal between 0 and 1. The autocomplete that I have is GitHub Copilot. Really helps out doing like tedious stuff, like typing out long ass things like this, and it's faster than IntelliSense in a lot of ways. So at least for VS Code with Unreal. So that's quite nice. It is a paid subscription on GitHub. I think it's like $10 a month or something like that if you want the chat option with it as well, because it comes with a chatting option as well. I can it effectively just has ChatGPT built into it as well, which is quite nice. And this can theoretically somewhat look into your code base as well when you're talking to it. It says that it can't, but I'm pretty sure that it can. And the same thing with all this, right? Is because it is a large language model, it can just look through your actual code. So it can very easily, if you've named your functions, things that make sense, it can very easily also autocomplete and suggest things with functions that you yourself have written. Which is really, really good. There is some free alternatives, I believe, to it. I haven't looked into those yet. People in my Discord keep bugging me that I should, and maybe I will. But yeah, I honestly, it's such a lifesaver with code. Or more at times ever. It doesn't actually... It usually, when it supplies ready-made solutions, it's not that it supplies great solutions. It's just when you do things like, for instance, if I want to make like a integer x coord, it also knows, okay, you're probably going to want to make a y coord and then also going to make a z coord, and then it guesses what you want to do with those things. And usually it's pretty good at doing those guesses. But for doing like tedious stuff, it's really quite good. So I random chance. By default, it's going to be 50. I think 50 is pretty good. Let's set this to, for testing purposes now. Let's set this to 100. So it's always going to do it. And see if it spawns in the thing that I wanted to spawn in. Levels. Persistent world. Okay, so in theory, when we get to the end of that 10 seconds, it should now, instead of doing a dash, always do that projectile move. It does. The projectile doesn't have a target, so that's why it doesn't home, and it's way too big. But that's like that's all easily fixable. So we homing set target. That's probably a projectile movement thing. Set homing target components. Get player character object references not with seen weak objects. Get roots components. There we go. Usually it adds it in automatically. It's kind of nice when it does that, but apparently now it doesn't. So now it should be aiming at my root component. It probably should be aiming at my skeletal mesh, actually. But for now it doesn't really matter. Okay, it does a shit job homing still. I'm gonna test whether or not that is just because this value is too low. So if I set this to like 1000, does it do a better job homing? The homing projectiles are always a little weird. I straight up think it just doesn't. Oh no, it does. Oh, it definitely does. So yeah, instead of so I think what I want to do is instead of setting its initial speed to 500, I set this to like 100 and then this to like 650 or something. And then maybe for now make this feel like half the size. It's gonna get replaced with like a wedge, like a boomerang shaped thing eventually. But we probably don't have the time to do that today. So that's probably like a Thursday kind of thing. Still, okay, yes. Its homing needs to be so much stronger. But that's the thing, right? Its homing needs to be stronger without making it faster. So if I set this to like 5000, it's also going to get faster. I think. And I don't want that. Yes, yes, it also gets faster, which also, what even? Like, what even is happening here? Like, let's just zoom out for a bit and check out. Let's take a look real quick. Maybe somebody else. Unreal, homing, projectile, more homing, not faster. How do I make accurate homing projectiles and blueprints? Homing projectile turns too slow. That is the issue, right? It's the turning speed. It's not the... Turns out doing this projectile movement, homing, acceleration magnitude. Yeah, okay, but I don't want the acceleration to also be higher. Okay, so what they're saying here is that the initial speed, if that is like 200, the homing acceleration should be about 10 times that, but right now it's about 20 times that. So let's take a look at that. I still don't feel like this is doing a great job at turning and attacking me. Okay, I guess we kind of got that working then. Let's now like smoosh this thing into a shape similar to what it's eventually going to be. It's also straight up, I think, not doing what it should be doing. I don't think it's generating any overlap events. Or at least not sending the proper like gameplay messages and stuff. But we'll figure that out now. At least one of those questions. I also want to know whether or not it rotates properly, or if it's just like the position. I think it also rotates. Maybe not, but that is pretty easy to program in. That is just a matter of Reaper Ball, Snow. This one, right? So yeah, the collision for this guy is just straight up not working, but that's just a matter of like adding a actual sphere collision. That does things. Okay, maybe we add a box collision for this instead, actually. I think that might make more sense. We'll fine-tune this eventually, but for now, like, this will be the collision for it. Oh yeah, and we were going to set this thing to on event tick. Always set its rotation, right? So set world, just set rotation. Rotation. I don't know if this is gonna fuck with its velocity in any way. It might, and we'll figure it out. Find look at rotation between get actor location for two things. So for itself and get player character. I'm just going to update its rotation every frame. And now I wait for another 10 seconds, because every time I start this up I say, I probably should make that timer a little bit lower, and then I don't. Yeah, that's I mean, that's a start. Set actor rotation is... okay, I don't care about that right now. This probably should be a R-interp. R-interp to constant. The other time, interp speed is like... it'll be high. Like 70. Let's go for 60. Get actors rotation. It should be decently good at following me around, and right now it really, like, it's... maybe that's fine, the fact that it's moving so quickly, but maybe I should just actually follow the advice of what people say online and say this is about 10 times the actual speed. Instead of, like, 25. 25 times, that is, not just a value of 25. Yeah, I kind of honestly feel like I might just program this myself. Because it is not that difficult to do, this homing thing. Because what it'll do is it's already trying to always face toward the player. So all I need to do is I just need to move it along its forward vector. And that's it. This is what they call it. This is blueprint. So this is visual scripting. This is where, like, a lot of the magic happens, and we've also, of course, got C++ if you're, like, into that stuff. So yeah, instead of making this homing, let's just, like, not make this homing. After I set the actor rotation every frame, what I'll just do is I will set actor location instead. I will get forward vector. That's not what I meant. Get forward vector from the actor. That's what we want. And we'll just multiply that by a speed value. So for now that's just going to be a float. And we'll just say that's like... yeah, let's say 400. Except that has to be then multiplied by delta time, so this is actually going to be 400. I think we can just multiply it afterward as well, but who cares. And we'll then add, not multiply, that'll be horrible, not equals, all these symbols here, and we'll just get actor location, so that we just add it to its current location, and now it will just always move in its current forward direction, which effectively now makes it homing toward specifically the player. That's how easy it is to make a homing missile. Instead of using Unreal's dodgy ass built-in homing system. I think the visual scripting part, I don't know how much experience you have with programming in general. If you have experience with programming in general, visual scripting is going to be like very easy to pick up. If it is the like actually first thing that you are, okay, so I probably just need that to be I'll get back to that thought in a moment. If this is the first thing that you do to like learn programming in general, it might be a little more difficult, but like getting into your first like programming language, calling this a programming language for ease of use, is always going to be a little bit of a headache. But once you've got that down, learning more is generally not a problem. So Blueprint could be a good introduction to programming if that is what you're looking for. Otherwise, you can always look into things like Python or Java. I feel like it still is using the built-in homing. I used to program in C++ and I've been using Unity C# for some years. But I'm very scared about all the 3D aspects like animation, materials, textures. Yeah, the blueprint part of that, you're not going to really run into that. Like, of course, dealing with 3D animation, all the material setups and that kind of stuff is a pain. That's a pain separate from visual scripting, though. Yeah. I say as I have a model open with like 15 different materials on it. Like, don't do this. But that's also like a lot of that is also kind of engine independent, right? Every engine is going to perform worse with 15 of these materials where it's not necessary. Because this now makes 15 draw call. Like, usually, like rendering optimization is done pretty much the same way across engines. Engines have their own quirks and things that they're better at and worse at and stuff like that. And for sure, 3D art can be a huge pain to do properly. Like, I'm not particularly great at it myself. And one of the things about Unreal is that it very specifically is a 3D engine. It's like not made for 2D at all. Anyway, so is this still homing for some reason? Yeah, it still has homing. What? I was sure that I turned off the homing thing. Actually, if we're going to be doing that anyway, I don't even think we need to make this a projectile component. We effectively just made our own projectile component that is less flexible but does more what I want. And that's really the only thing I care about right now. Okay, now it's moving very slowly. But it's very slowly moving toward me specifically, so that's fucking great. But you did 3D art great. You did great stuff with ZBrush in a very short time. I remember that. Yeah, I really need to get back into using more ZBrush. I'm thinking the next enemy that I make, I probably want to do the sculpting in ZBrush again. For this guy, I did the sculpting in Blender. But I really need to get more into like using ZBrush because it's really cool. But it's also it's one more thing to learn, you know. And I need to finally import this guy's texture so that he doesn't look like this. That would probably also help in making them look a little bit better. Okay, so the issue here now is just kind of purely that he's moving very slowly. So let's up this to 500. And then it will probably actually just work a lot better than Unreal's homing stuff, because maybe I just misunderstand how it works. But yeah, so this is what I actually want, right? Except the fact that it definitely should be moving faster than it is right now. But that's what I want. It's very tightly following me, but it's always moving forward from its own perspective, but then the direction it's moving is based on its rotation. That's what I was trying to accomplish, more or less, I think. So, yeah, 500 is too little, so let's make this like 850. And this also, I mean, technically it runs on the like normal game thread now instead of running on the physics loop, which is but it also makes it so that the units are a little bit easier for me to understand, because intuitively, units that are distance make sense to me. Units that are forces always mess me up. Okay, so now I know what I'm tweaking, right? So I want them to turn a little bit less, and also whenever it hits anything, I wanted to destroy this actor as well. Again, there's going to be some fine-tuning needed to do here. Surfboard is chasing you. I know, right? This, my enemy is just a dead server dude. Eventually, that's going to be like a wedge. So when it hits the floor, it should also die, right? It hit me and the floor at the same time. I wonder. Okay, let's do that attack once more. If I try to jump over it, what it... okay, it kind of does something weird where you try to jump over it, but I don't know, I kind of like that in a way, what it does. Like, that's kind of funny. Yeah. Again, there's going to be some like tweaking done here at some point, but honestly, right now we've been at this for 2.5 hours. I think we pretty much did everything that I was planning to do. We did the teleport ability, and we added this random chance thing, which is going to now be like 30% of the time he does that, and 70% of the time he does. Let's make that 40-60. So 40% of the time he's going to spawn that projectile, and 60% of the time he's going to do a dash attack, which is then in and of itself split up into 3 different attacks. So that is, I think, a pretty good amount of variation. And now that we have this one anyway, I think I also want to maybe make this cooldown, like random chance. So every time we get to this, we first check, hey, is the cooldown done? And if it is, we give it a 50% chance of... we first check whether or not the enemy HP is below 60%. Then we check whether or not the cooldown is done. And then we check a random chance. We probably actually want to check the random chance before. Maybe we want to check it after. Let's check it after, because what I think will happen is when we get to this cooldown and this succeeds but this fails, it will still reset the cooldown, which will be good, because otherwise it could just keep trying this particular path, and it's going to keep trying this particular path until it succeeds. So we want to only give it a chance to try that every 60 or every 10 seconds or whatever. And the wonderful thing is, because we now have this random chance thing, we could actually, instead of providing this with a float, we could make this a blackboard key as well, which means that we can then update in boss info as well if we wanted to. Yeah, I've got some real cool ideas as to like how to make this work now. It's kind of unfortunate that people on Twitch are showing up right as I'm ending off the stream, because usually Twitch is quite dead for me. Not a lot of people show up on Twitch usually. There's more of a YouTube stream thing. But hey, people on Twitch, nice to see you here. Do feel free to come back with my next stream. But I am actually going to end off this stream now because, again, this is kind of like my time's up. So we'll be back on Thursday, same time, and we'll be continuing work on this, where we're getting decently close to having pretty much all the functionality set up, and from there it's like a lot of fine-tuning and tweaking, and I'm not going to do all of that on stream, because that is literally just playing, then not playing for a month, and then playing again, letting other people play, waiting a month, playing again, tweaking things. We'll do parts of that on stream, but I'm not going to do that entire process on stream, because that's going to, like... It's not going to be possible, right? Because it's just... To do that properly, you need to have distance between test sessions. And I do stream like twice a week, so we need to fill up that with other content. So, we do need to make some more animations, though. We need to finish up that projector, so we've got like 1 or 2 more streams ahead of us to get this guy going and then give him some stats. And then we'll try to do like 1 full run of this boss fight, maybe add some particles, which we'll probably be at this for another 2 weeks at least. So yeah, Thursday, same time, I'll be back. We're making some good progress. I'm very, very, very excited. I'll see you all back then. Bye.